Hello, everyone. On the next episode of our BIM for manufacturers and wholesalers series, today's webinar will be covered by. On today's webinar, we will cover different topics that we previously covered during the previous episode, which is the PIM, so product information management, and the ETIM classification, of course, in the context of the BIM content. If you are not familiar with our previous episode of the BIM for manufacturers and wholesalers series, I definitely recommend you to check our site BIMStreamer.com, where under the knowledge section you can find the list of the previous episode recordings. And recently we've just released the recording from the previous episode that was taken part together with Co-Builder, where we were covering the topic of quality validation of the BIM libraries. But getting back to our today's session, I would like to introduce our today's speakers. And our first speaker is one of the co-founders of the Crossbase PIM, and he is also responsible for the sales in France. The Crossbase is pretty much popular in Germany and is getting more and more popular in France. So I would like to welcome Jean-René Thies. Hello, Jean-René. Our second guest was already a speaker on one of our previous webinars, which we were covering the classification of ETIM. And today I decided to also invite him because we will also cover the classification of ETIM, but we will try to cover it, of course, in the context of the product information management. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Francois Geers. Hello, Francois.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me again over, Martin.
It's always a pleasure for us. And as usual, during our sessions, we always wanted to present you the actual utilization of the knowledge that we are about to transfer on today's session. So that's why as usual, I asked Adam Końca, project manager of the BIMStreamer project, to prepare a real case demo of the topics that we're about to cover. And when it comes to the topics that we're about to cover on today's session, initially Jean-René will explain you a bigger picture of why we need to actually manage the product information and why we should convey them into BIM libraries. And not only BIM libraries, but of course, this is one of the main reasons of our today's session. In the second part, Francois, due to the fact that he's pretty much experienced in data migration, will explain us how to avoid the most common pitfalls, how to avoid the most common anti-patterns when it comes to the data management, of course, in the context of ETIM and in the context of BIM content. And in the third part, we will try to address the proper way of dealing with that. And at the very beginning of the presentation, we have prepared a small demo that explains the bigger concept of today's agenda. At the very end, if we will still have some time, we will try to cover the topic we will try to cover your questions and answer them if we still have a bit more time slot to do so. And getting back to the origins of our today's meeting, I would like to quote one of the greatest innovators of 20th century, Steve Jobs, which stated that in order to connect the dots, we should sometimes look backwards. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the very beginning, I would like you to look back into the history of product information. And for that part, I would like to ask Jean-René to put a bit more light on the topic. Jean-René, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for this introduction. So let's start with the big picture. We are talking about something quite complex today, and I've tried to put it in a simple illustration: the sharing of information between different stakeholders during the life cycle of buildings. This sounds so simple, right? We assume here several phases that at first sight proceed one after the other. But a building exists for decades, And during this time, many elements must be maintained and sometimes replaced. Legal regulations and certifications may change. And even for the demolition of a building in the far future, today's information can be important. Manufacturers of building components are our best source of information here. This gives them a special responsibility and therefore also some extra work. But they also benefit from making their product data available. In fact, they should have an interest in providing their data in a way that simplifies the selection of their products. You can imagine here that this brings some challenges. Many stakeholders, possibly in different countries, different software systems, long time frames, and changing information. We will go into more detail later. Today, the biggest challenge for manufacturers is the amount of work involved in creating and updating BIM objects. They are often busy in keeping their product sheets, catalogs, websites, and price lists up to date. How to manage even more while avoiding costly mistakes? Well, you need good tools for this, but you also need a strategy. Let's take a closer look at the beginning of the information chain. Manufacturers of building elements already have to provide a lot, not only product specifications, but also installation instructions, declarations of performance, safety notes, certificates, and more. If you bring all the important information about a product together in one place, you can call this a golden record. Centralization creates a single point of truth where you can find verified and approved information. You get a reliable source from which many publications are supplied. This golden record aims at completeness. It stays at home and grows there like a tree in the garden. If we want to send something on the road, we need more. This would be a highly compatible version of product information that is neutral in terms of technology and language. I would call that a universal record. In this example, our universal record replaces the textual descriptions with codes. If some receiving systems know the codes, they can understand them, and the information can be translated back into the language of the people involved. The EV and EF codes here simply mean color is blue. This standardized version is basically a compromise, but it makes a lot of things easier, especially e-commerce and BIM. By the way, we're not talking about just one universal version here, but many. Think of country-specific information, levels of details, etc. In the best case, all those variants are generated automatically, packed into suitable containers, and sent on their way. My advice is let machines do this part. Let's take a look at the tools. In most cases, manufacturers use an ERP system for business processes. For BIM, however, the ERP only provides the basic information about which products are available right now. This is essential, but only the starting point. Technical data must be available too and in a structured form. This is what PIM systems are built for. PIM and ERP build on each other to enrich product data step by step. The golden record, just mentioned, is created in a PIM and is used for online and print publications of the manufacturer. In addition, universal records can open up further possibilities, for example, e-commerce and BIM. Centralization and integration are the key, and as a result, you get immediate availability of product information in all output channels. From the manufacturer's point of view, BIM is just another one. To achieve this centralization and integration, the tools must be stacked on top of each other. Well, so much for the initial situation in terms of content and technology. Now let's take a closer look at data and strategy. Francois, I hand over to you.
Thank you. Well, data and strategy. Let's first focus a bit on the whole BIM approach. But again, thank you for handing over. I wanted to talk a bit about main BIM challenges. Hopefully, most of you, all of you, know this picture. That is, I believe, coming from Autodesk itself. Brilliant picture, actually defining exactly what BIM is representing. BIM in general, people only still see that as a 3D object with some intelligence included, but mainly the 3D object that one can work with, that one can use in their software tool, let's say. But BIM, and that is really, I cannot say that enough times, it is a methodology. And the 3D object is only a part of this whole methodology, supporting this whole methodology. So when I already mentioned something about the flow, let's say, but a BIM object, the whole methodology is actually supporting the whole process of a building from the beginning, that there's only this idea, that you put your thoughts on paper, that you come with some conceptual design, detailed design, and with BIM that is all possible. But most people also are then aware only of the fact that it is a good idea to build a building based on BIM, that you need to have the digital twins and so on. That is costing a lot of money normally, but what people are also not really taking into account is the work afterwards. As soon as the building is being in use, the building of it will only take, I don't know, half year, 1 year, 2 years, maybe, because a lot of money. You can reduce some percentage of that money with using BIM. But afterwards, the whole facility management part, such a building will exist for, I don't know, 50 years, 100 years, 150 years. And that is where you really can use this whole BIM approach in such a sufficient way. That is also why they're looking into it, to retrospectively already existing buildings come with BIM models for facility management purposes and so on. If they need to exchange something, if something is broken and it needs to be fixed, then with this whole BIM idea, you can do that in so much better. There are really a lot of BIM challenges still going on. So not only understanding that it is not just a 3D object, but that it is a whole methodology. But within that, a lot of companies came with a lot of brilliant software. I'm only showing you here Revit. That is from Autodesk. That is what you hear a lot. But there are, I don't know, 100, maybe 1,000 different software packages supporting BIM, that you can create BIM objects, that you can plan with them, that you can work with them, do your whole construction and so on. That is exactly where problems occur. The idea is actually with BIM that you can have this open BIM approach. Everybody is working in BIM, that you do not have these silos anymore. Everybody can cooperate in a team. Doesn't matter where you are sitting. Are you in the office? Are you at home? Are you sitting on the beach? Are you sitting physically with all these people in one room, or everybody spread over the world? That is making it a bit challenging, because you always need to have exactly the same software tool, basically. And not only that, also the same version. Like with Revit, if you're using version 21 and you have a Revit object from 2019, fantastic, you can work with it. The other way around, you can forget it. You cannot work with that. So you need to be always on the same page, on the same line, actually, with everybody, using exactly the same software packages and the same versioning of the software. Defining intelligence, defining how a BIM object should like. There are so many different classifications, standardizations, telling you what it should look like, what should be included, what should definitely not be included. Most of them actually are based on a specific country. VDI 3805, brilliant. It's a German invention, really. It looks fantastic. But it is mainly being used in German-speaking countries, also in Switzerland and Austria. ISO, as far as I know, is basing their approach on VDI data sets. When will they be done? Could be 5 years, could be 10 years before we have there some kind of standard. BSI, that is the British variant. It is all sort of equal, but it is again different. Not making it any easier that as soon as you decide to work with BIM data, what kind of classification, or should you cover all different classifications? That is really a struggle. Languages. You're working with the whole world. Everybody is digitalizing and so on, especially thanks to Corona or due to Corona. More and more people being in home office, more and more people working online, having team sessions with each other. But the different languages, that is also something that you need to take into account. English is a lot of times a corporate language, but it does not necessarily mean that everybody is fully aware of the whole English idiom, the vocabulary, to be able to understand exactly what is when being used and how to deal with that and so on. And I have now here a few examples, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, English, and so on. They all need to be able to communicate in a way with each other that they can understand each other without using tools like Google Translate to figure out what exactly is meant and whatnot. And those are just a handful of challenges. There are probably 1,000 more challenges. The probable inconsistent or outdated content. Then you have your BIM object finally created. Business is still working on fine-tuning the product. And maybe every month there's again some kind of difference. Maybe it is just a tiny difference that is irrelevant to the audience that is using it, but it might also have an impact. Maybe it is all of a sudden a few centimeters bigger, a few kilograms heavier or lighter or whatever. And you always need to keep that kind of data everywhere throughout the whole chain consistent. So you need to be careful with outdated content. But on the other hand, as soon as we're talking about retrospectively setting up some BIM constructions, then you need outdated content, because that product that you're using now does not mean that you were also using that like 10 years ago. But you need to have that data still intact with all the okay, something is happening here. I'm sorry about that. The whole house is trembling. So with outdated content, you need that, but you need to know exactly when and where to use that. So hence also the keeping track of BIM object versioning. You really exactly need to, maybe you have 20 different versions of your BIM object, which you might need to cover all the planners and engineers working with your products. The ginormous file sizes, that is also quite a challenge. It is when you're using a BIM file, let's say, to build, I don't know, hospital is my mainly used favorite example. When you want to include there something, you do not only normally include that in one specific room. You use that in every room. Hospital could be big, maybe 200 rooms. Then you need one item like a light bulb or whatever. You mention it 200 times. The file size is enormous immediately, but there's only just one typical product. It is still quite a challenge, and I can imagine that for that reason also a lot of people decide not to necessarily directly start working on this whole BIM approach. And now my mouse is not working. Okay. There are some initiatives to create standardization, to help everybody a little bit more, like IFC, that is from Building Smart. Brilliant idea, really, but it is sort of like a PDF file. What can you do with a PDF file? You can use it, you can read it, you cannot change anything. I know that they're working on a dynamic approach there, but when is that done? When can they use that? So that actually means that as soon as you want to step into the world of IFC, you already need to have your planning done. The dynamic BIM objects you had before, then you say, okay, finalized, it is perfect. let's go on to the next chapter that the next engineer, let's say, can put in their products. If something might be wrong there, you cannot really change anything anymore, and it is a bit of a pity. That is why I am personally still in favor of ETIM. ETIM is not a country-dependent classification or standardization. They are providing worldwide exactly the same structure of data that is required, like ISO, but again, ISO that will still take a bit more time. But now I need to see if I can exactly exert influence. With ISO, they come with brilliant rules, but they define for you exactly what it should look like or what it should definitely not look like. Being a member of ETIM International, you can influence the whole party. You can say, well, it's brilliant that you want all these kind of information and so on for the specific product, but I have something in addition. I have something special that I also want to have included. You can influence the whole approach, which is, as far as I know, impossible with ISO. Maybe they changed again in the meantime. But with ETIM International as well, you have the possibility to use ETIM MC, which is a dynamic approach where you can create simple BIM objects, and you can inject them with ETIM data, so then you have highly intelligent BIM objects, and both are standardized worldwide, and where you can still influence the whole approach if something is not to your liking. So I am still in favor of ETIM, and I know that they're still working hard on it to grow, to have more members on board and so on. Because I still think that this is personally, I think this is one of the best approaches. I have been working with it for a very long time. I've been looking into it to get all the data classified, standardized, and so on. It is quite a challenge, but in the end, it is really much worth it. Thank you.
Thank you,
That was my
Francois.
part, actually. I like to hand over to Adam, I believe, right?
Yeah. Before we do that, I would like to maybe put a bit more comment on one of our attendees that noted that the main thing in this is to ensure interoperability and collaboration between the classifications. And I think that this actually very much refers to one of our previous episodes. So Dave, I would definitely recommend you to check that out. The episode where we were covering the BSDD topic, which is the Building Smart Data Dictionary. We were covering the interoperability between the different classifications during that part. So definitely it's worth checking out. So Francois, thank you very much for explaining the challenges and the issues that might arise with creating the BIM content. And I would like to right now ask Adam, if you could connect the dots, because we were talking about the PIM, so product information management system, so some sort of a product information database. We were talking about different classification and ETIM in particular. Francois, you've already made a small spoiler because you already mentioned ETIM MC. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
So it's better not to actually watch the same movies with Francois because he likes to spoil a bit. But Adam will try to connect the dots. So Adam, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let's try to connect the dots. So as Francois told a few minutes ago, BIM is not only the geometry, it's also the data. And together it creates the BIM object. And the question is how to do it properly. So we will have in this BIM object the necessary classification or language according to the market where we would like to provide this BIM object. Well, very important is the data source. the place where we have the data. Let's imagine that we are a manufacturer and we have some kind of data, but they are not standardized in any classification, like ETIM, for example. In case we use the PIM Crossbase, it's not a problem, because Crossbase provides the ETIM mapping functionality, which allows us to map our attributes into the ETIM attributes in the necessary ETIM version. In our example, we will map the attributes into ETIM 7 and ETIM 8. We have used also the ETIM MC generic drawing, from which we have created the ETIM MC generic BIM template, which was used to generate the final BIM object. Such data we have uploaded into the BIMStreamer, where they are merged and validated. What are the benefits of such connection? The PIM, product information management, and BIM content management. Well, at least 8 of them. One of them is single source of truth. It's very important to not to duplicate the data across different systems, because it's very erroneous. So in this example, we have single source of truth according to the data within the PIM Crossbase, and single source of truth for the BIM content, which is managed inside the BIMStreamer. Second very important option is auto-update. Let's assume that we will change something, but we have already created the content for the whole Europe in different languages and different classifications. And now we have those 1,000 files updated. It's almost impossible to do it manually. However, with BIMStreamer, we can do it automatically. Doesn't matter if there was updated just one attribute in few families, or we have changed the models and create the new geometry for the products. As we can use the generic content, it might reduce the costs of the model creation drastically, because we can use existing models on the market, for example, that are supporting, that are compliant with ETIM MC. With BIMStreamer, we can also publish the data to several channels, and the number of these channels is really unlimited. So you can publish it on your manufacturer's website, online, on the mobile app, Revit plugin, on the wholesaler pages, external BIM portals, and any others. It might be also very important to be able to validate the data and the geometry automatically. And with BIMStreamer, it's possible to validate the geometry of the created content and the data after injection of the data into the files. We can automatically validate the attributes in RFA or IFC files, for example. It's also very important to create final files in dedicated languages according to the markets. And even if we don't have the translations for our attributes, it's not a problem, because if we have mapped our attributes into ETIM, ETIM provides the translations automatically to different languages. It's also possible to customize your channels. maybe you would like to provide different attributes on different channels or even different products on different markets. Let's imagine that you would like to provide some videos on your mobile app or different, a little bit different attributes in a Revit file instead of web application. For example, you would like to provide the attributes with underscores on your Revit plugin files, and translations with spaces, not with underscores, on the mobile app, on the web application. And something which might be even more important is versioning. According to BIMStreamer, any new synchronization creates a new version of the file. So you don't have to worry that you will lose your old data because they are always available. And in case someone will ask, for example, after 5 years, for the product version from 2021, then it's possible to provide such files.
I think that before we come over to demo, maybe I will ask our guests several questions. Maybe I will start with Francois. Francois, I know that you're pretty much experienced when it comes to the data migration and transferring the product information from different source systems to a different destination system. Could you tell me, when you were talking with different manufacturer, wholesalers, data pools, is the connecting between the PIM and BIM content is a great challenge for them? How they usually address that?
That's a whole different topic. I maybe there are companies doing that already, but as far as I know, I'm not familiar with having BIM content in PIM available.
All right, and when it comes to you, Jean-René, is it quite often that you've been asked about the support for ETIM or in general support for BIM files as well, when someone is planning to set up its own Crossbase installation?
Well, in the past, ETIM was more a topic in the context of e-commerce, and we integrated it already 17 years ago, just to make it possible to transfer data into some target systems like online shops and so on. And since then, the BIM topic came up, and we're working on this, I would say, for 3 or 4 years now. So this is for us just an additional technology which may be combined.
All right. All right. And Adam, maybe the question to you when it comes to the connection with the PIM, could you tell me if it's possible? Let's say that I would like to have a BIM content, but I'm not PIM ready. Is it possible to work with BIM content management solution even without having a PIM, and let's say add the PIM later on, because we know that setting up the PIM might take some time, right?
Yeah, in the easiest way, it's possible to upload the data even within the Excel file. So we don't have to integrate with PIM system for manufacturers. We can use Excel sheet, for example.
Okay. And what if there are more than well? Of course, as Jean-René mentioned, we should have the single source of truth. But what if it's not the case? What if we have several sources of truth? Which truth is the best one, so to say?
Well, actually, it still can be a single source of truth in case we don't have duplicated the information across a few systems. We can keep different information in different systems, of course. And yeah, we can integrate with different systems and take all the data from different systems at once.
Okay, and maybe I will also try to cover 2 more questions from our audience. So the first part is that, are all ETIM categories covered? Not sure what was the reason, what was the meaning of the question, whether we are covering, whether we are relating to ETIM classification or ETIM MC classification. But if If it's the former one, then of course the BIMStreamer is integrated with the ETIM API, so we are covering everything which is covered by both static version of ETIM and dynamic version of ETIM. We haven't covered the dynamic version at this webinar. However, if you check our website and navigate to the ETIM MC webinar, then you will be able to hear a bit more about the ETIM dynamic, which was also pretty well explained by Francois. And when it comes to the ETIM MC, the ETIM MC master files, the template files, they are pretty much simple. So that this is the LOD 100 up to 200, so very low level of details. We can cover pretty much most of the categories, and if there is a new one, then it's very easy to add one. So I'm not sure whether this is the answer for your own question. When it comes to the Roland's question, what will be the future? ISO standard or ETIM. So we've already ordered a new DeLorean, and we will move into the future and check that out, and then get back and let you know. But to be honest, we don't know. Yeah. So it's up to several factors, which we all have a decision with to which one to choose. But of course, it's hard to say. And right now, we have several other questions, but maybe let's continue to the demo part, and we will try to answer the remaining questions if we still have some time after the demo. So Adam, you've already mentioned how we could connect the dots. So the idea is to connect the PIM with the BIM content management solution in order to generate a single BIM content dynamically on the fly in an automated way, so that every time when we change something within the PIM system, we are also able to automatically update the BIM files. But how we can orchestrate that?
Okay, I will present you the high-level architecture, how everything works together. So we will present you the back office of BIMStreamer, where the final BIM files are created. But BIMStreamer is just the software, so we need to provide some data. As we said, we have connected the PIM Crossbase, where we have defined the product information for our product, and prepared the mapping to ETIM 7 and ETIM 8. We have prepared also generic content based on ETIM MC. And after uploading this data into the platform is integrated with ETIM API. So before the synchronization, before the merging the data, the geometry and the data, we can validate the ETIM content if everything, if any attributes for a specified ETIM class are provided, and if they have the correct data, the correct values. Once we have validated them and uploaded, then we can combine the data. So we will inject the data taken from Crossbase into the generic content using the Revit behind. And once the data are created, they can be verified. The newly created file is a new version. The previous one are also available. Once we check them and accept, then we can make the publication. Publication can be done on unlimited number of channels. It might be manufacturers' websites, mobile application, Revit plugin, wholesaler web pages, some data pools, and many others. And from these channels, the final files can be uploaded, can be downloaded by the end users, designers, constructors, and others. I think that's all, and we can start the demo.
So in order to start the demo, I will right now like to ask Jean-René. Jean-René, if you could tell us how we could configure the product information within the Crossbase, and how we can utilize the ETIM classification alongside. So Jean-René, the floor is yours again, and you could start the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Martin. I will now show you how product data is prepared in the PIM, so that as much as possible can be done automatically at a later stage. So we see here the standard user interface for data maintenance in the Crossbase PIM. So on the left side, there's a product hierarchy that is used internally. Here the products are grouped by similarity, so you can use inheritance from higher to lower levels. This alone can reduce the amount of work enormously.
Jean-René, I see that the movie is not moving, so maybe you need to click the play button. Oh yeah, right now it's moving.
I'm just stopping it from time to time.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so let's have a look at technical data. And there may be a lot of them. It makes sense to create groups for better overview. And these groups, just a second, and these groups, we call them classes, which is a bit similar to classes in ETIM. In the PIM, the composition of classes and attributes can be configured freely, of course, and what you're seeing right now is just an internal grouping. In one of those segments, we could have a maintenance status that tells if the product is ready for release, and some information could flow in from an existing ERP system. This imported data is locked in the PIM so that the responsibility remains in the ERP, of course. When you have data in multiple systems, you have to think about ownership. Here we also see a field inherited from the product group. Therefore, this information no longer needs to be specified at the product. Then you can integrate a country selection to control the regional availability of the products. And then we have the technical data with numeric fields and value lists, which is quite straightforward. Finally, you would add geometric data. As Adam told us, this can be imported, of course, so you don't have to edit all those numbers manually. But if you do so, you have the possibility to add some little pictures for the distinct dimensions, just to avoid mistakes. So now, let's say we have the product data we need. Let's have a quick look at file management. An integrated media asset management allows us to assign any file types to a product, not only images, but also PDF files for certificates, for example. And all necessary variants for the different output channels are stored right in the system. The channel configuration defines which variant is used. The product hierarchy on the left allows us to put files on higher levels so that one file is valid for all products below. This can be, for example, this generic drawing for an entire product group. Now let's go one step further to the control of the output channels. Here we select from our internal structure on the left and simply assign products and target structures on the right. Target structures are, for example, the navigation of the company website or some other digital output channels, such as a dedicated BIM platform, for example. To simplify things, we select entire product groups and drag them to the desired locations in the target structures. Now, for better control of which products are released, we need something else, and this is done via product ranges. These work like a filter for every product output channel and can be maintained independently. So what's missing now is the classification according to a standard like ETIM. This works exactly like the assignment to a channel structure. A special feature here is the management of different ETIM versions if needed. For each ETIM version, you will find the groups and classes relevant for the company. And now we do a simple drag and drop, and that's it. All products in the group now know ETIM, and thanks to a mapping in the background, all features and values are also available in a standard compliant manner. If at a later date more products are added to the group, there will be no additional work. Let's get back to the editor view, just to show the codes so that you have some sort of preview of how the data will be transferred later. In normal use, these codes are simply hidden. And that's it. PIM in a nutshell.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. In the meantime, I was trying to answer the questions from our audience, but maybe right now, since you already finished your part, maybe I will try to, instead of writing them down, I will try to answer them directly. So the question from Iman, maybe this would be the question to you, Francois. What about the products which has not been yet implemented in ETIM, just like segment band?
What do you exactly mean? Because they are not available yet to be classified in ETIM.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the Iman is referring to the fact that some of the products are not available in ETIM yet.
Yep.
So probably if we're working with ETIM Dynamic, they might appear soon.
They might appear soon. Well, first of all, that isn't a bad thing. Again, of course, you need to be a member of ETIM International, and then you can, as I already mentioned, influence the whole situation. Then you can get in touch with them and mention, I have these products, they're not available yet. What would be a great idea, of course, is there you have really a lot of influence. There you can come up yourself with data that is, in your opinion, necessary to handle. So then you can already make a suggestion, helping ETIM International, helping yourself. What was it again? ETIM version 9 is going to be released next year, I believe, in 1 year. So then you still have, let's say, a year to work with it, to work around it and so on. But then in a year, it should be made available, and then everybody can use that.
Yes, since BIMStreamer is connected to ETIM Dynamic, if we work with Dynamic and you don't want it to wait for the next static version, then you can actually expect that new classes might appear on a daily basis. I will park the second question for a moment because we're running out of time. So Adam, if you can conduct your part. So in general, Jean-René explain us how we set up the product information, even if we had it in our internal structure, which is not ETIM MC compliant. We use the ETIM mapping feature of Crossbase PIM in order to convert it automatically into both ETIM 7 and ETIM 8. And right now, Adam, we would like to consume this ETIM 7 and ETIM 8 data and combine them alongside with the ETIM MC generic content. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, let's check what will happen on a BIMStreamer side. We will prepare the tree synchronization on 3 different channels of the same convector. First one without ETIM validation for Austria channel. At the moment, the files are generated. And in the next 2 synchronizations, we will prepare the ETIM 7 and ETIM 8 validation. At the moment, ETIM 7. And here you can see that, I will pause it. You can see that we have 1 warning in BIM Data Pool Germany and 0 warnings for BIM Wholesaler. It means that the BIM Wholesaler channel is compatible with ETIM 7 and all necessary attributes are available. And 1 attribute for ETIM 7 is missing on a BIM Data Pool Germany channel. Let's check which one. Yeah, we can see that a lot of them is correct. And this one is missing. And in the next synchronization, we will do the ETIM 8 validation. And we will be able to see that there is 3 attributes missing for in one channel. For this synchronization, we have also marked the anonymized family. What means that we will create the anonymized RFA, which might be used for public tenders. Here we have this validation for ETIM 8, 0 warnings for BIM Data Pool Germany, and 3 warnings, 3 missing attributes in this channel. Yeah, now we will start the synchronization, and in a moment we will check the results after the synchronization. Yes, now on one side we will have the ETIM 7, and on the right side ETIM 8, and now we can check the attributes and the difference between the ETIM 7 and ETIM 8 versions. We can see that some attributes that are available on ETIM 8 are missing in ETIM 7, and vice versa. The attributes defined in ETIM 7, not all of them are defined in ETIM 8. Okay, we have validated the content. Let's check also the created files. We can see the regular RFA files and anonymized, some DWG files. Okay, let's accept the new versions. Once they are accepted, we can publish them to the dedicated channels. Publication in progress. Okay, let's check how it looks like on the web application. Here we have the generated content with all ETIM attributes. And in a moment, we will download the created Revit file, and we will check, yep, the attributes have been injected to the Revit file as well. So you have seen that we can easily create the complex BIM content with different products, with different classifications and in different languages for different markets.
Thank you very much, Adam, for the demo. Thank you, Jean-René, for your part of the demo. We got several questions here, so I was trying to answer them while you were presenting. So I'm not sure whether that was pretty clear for everyone, so I will try to explain it once again. So what was actually done was actually we've created a product information within the Crossbase PIM. Later on, we converted it to ETIM 7 and ETIM 8. Once we have them converted, we can view this information into the BIM content management platform. In this case, we use the BIMStreamer. In addition to the information provided from Crossbase within compliant with ETIM 7 and ETIM 8, we also provided the generic template, which was compliant with ETIM MC. We've been asked for one of the attendees whether it needs to be ETIM MC generic template. No, it can be any kind of, let's say, Revit, ArchiCAD master file, which is parametric and which can be steered with the geometry, and also which can also conview some non-geometric attributes. So what we did is that we take this generic or non-generic, if you like, master template, combine that together and generate 2 independent BIM files, one for ETIM 7, one for ETIM 8, and we publish that to 3 independent marketing channels. Due to the fact that everything happens on the server side, so there is no need of additional add-on installation or anything or any additional software, we've been managed to publish this content to several different places. So these places can be, for instance, a web portal of the manufacturer or a wholesaler. It can be also some external BIM portal or even an e-commerce platform or some mobile application. For the purpose of the demo, we use 3 channels: one for the wholesaler, one for the data pool, and one for the manufacturer website. Each and every channel has a slightly different BIM file that we've actually generated. One channel had contained the manufacturer specific product information that was specified originally within the Crossbase BIM, and 2 other channels, one for the wholesaler and one for the data pool, were provided according to ETIM 7 and ETIM 8. And everything was in the end validated and verified according to ETIM API. Yeah. So another questions that we have: what will be the cost, let's say, of 3,000 articles? I like that kind of questions on the webinars. I think that we can park that questions, and Roland, if you would like to catch up with us, I would definitely recommend you to get in touch to either Jean-René in terms of the PIM, or me or Adam in terms of the BIMStreamer content management solution. Can BIMStreamer create Revit file on the fly with an ETIM information and a generic content? The simple answer is yes. We can create it on the fly. However, we prefer to pre-generate it up front, so to let's say from the performance issues. But sometimes, especially for the more complex configurations, it's not possible to pre-generate everything on the fly beforehand, and we're generating.
I think there was a question a little bit different, Marcin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was a question regards if we can base only on ETIM information and generate content. So the answer is no. We don't have to deal only with ETIM information and generate content. We can work with any information and any models that will be provided for the families. And I would like to go back for the previous question. Using the presented approach, do we get parametric families or family for each dimension? So yeah, for this example, we have prepared the parametric families, so with all necessary types inside Revit family. However, if it's important for someone to have dedicated Revit files with just one product inside, it's also possible. So full flexibility.
Okay, so are there any other questions which we should answer? Because if not, then probably we can actually proceed. Oh yeah, there is one more question. Is it possible to generate batch-based generation? So yes, it doesn't have to be once per month. It can be every time you change something or periodically. So it's pretty much flexible. I've already mentioned that before that we're about to create the BIM content report for 2022 for manufacturer and wholesaler, which explains the different strategies for the BIM content management for both manufacturers and wholesalers. I'm pasting the link to this survey because we are very much interested in your opinion on that case, and everyone that is willing to complete the survey can at the very end register to be notified once the report goes live. And taking this occasion, I would also like to invite you for the next episode of our BIM for manufacturer and wholesaler series, where we will cover the BIM content in the context of the data pools. And our guest would be the Magnus Siren. He's a co-founder or founder of the LVI Info data pool. He's also a part of the board at ETIM International and master data manager at FES Association, so the Association of European Wholesalers for Sanitary and Heating Industry. And when it comes to the question, do we have any other questions? Is it possible to organize the POC? Of course, it's possible to organize the proof of concept. And I think that we are about to wait for something like 10 more seconds because we're already behind the schedule several seconds. So if there are no further questions, I think that it would be best to close the meeting. I would like to thank you, our guests. So thank you very much, Jean-René. Thank you very much, Francois. Thank you very much, Adam, for your income.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you as well for having me over, coming
you,
over.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you to check our webinar recordings on our website, and see you on the next episode of BIM for Manufacturers series. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.